as human beings. But I'm going to talk about the more subtle ways of influencing and motivations and things like that behind it. So actually, my first kind of reaction to the topic was more like, actually, we shouldn't want to influence others. That was my immediate thought. In the sense that we should, ideally, our point of departure for being in relationship with other people should be of acceptance and, let other people be who they are and I can be myself. But then when I thought more about it, I thought, yeah, of course. I mean, the world more than ever needs me to exert a positive influence. So now, of course, we're talking about the wish to influence or to bring something to the table with very pure intentions, or pure wishes to uplift others, to support the world in different kinds of manners. Maybe for some of us from a point of view that we're seeing that many parts of the world is on fire. Many people are going through very difficult situations. Many souls are experiencing a lot of suffering at this point in time. So it actually matters a lot what I bring into the world. And then, of course, you can say, yeah, but I'm just a little human being. How much do I matter? Doesn't matter how I behave. But of course, every single one of us matters in the collective pool of everything that's going on in this world. Of course, we influence each other. And maybe it sounds a little bit like a cliche, but the fact that I may do something today that affects one person and that person brings it into another forum, which then is affected in different ways. Affected in different ways. So I really can, consider what I'm bringing to the table, so to speak, every day. So as it says here, what is inside me and what I do actually does matter. And if not in the very big, like global picture, it certainly matters in my local surroundings. But I would say that a healthy take on it is to focus not actually on the influence, because that can easily become a little strained or mixed with some lesser intentions, like selfish motives to want to change a situation, for example. So rather to focus on the container, which is me, what is inside of me, what am I carrying with me day to day, what am I spreading around myself, and not to focus really on the result of it. Yeah. So let me just take the next page. Yeah, so at the core of understanding how we're influencing each other, I mean, there's a neurological way of explaining it that has to do with how our brain functions. But I'm just going to explain it with the term the mind. It's a more like spiritual term. But of course, this has to do with our brains on a physical level, neurological level. But let's call it the mind. So the mind, it sounds like it's a thing, but it's really rather a capacity. So our capacity of thinking, of perceiving things, of making inner images, everything, when we say something is going on in our head, or when we experience emotions or an atmosphere around us, the whole link between the outer world and my inner world really is the mind. And the mind is really characterized by being very, very influenceable. It's very fluid. You know, we all have this experience. Very small sense perceptions can alter our state of mind. Smells, music, or sounds in general. You know, Arsi and I were just talking about the weather. Why are we so keen about the weather as human beings and the seasons? And it's because it affects our minds. You know, now it's springtime. Most of us experience a little more energy in springtime than in winter, things like that. So another thing that really effectively affects our minds is other people. So other people's expression in different ways. So you could say that, okay, in a way, it's a good thing that the mind is so fluid and it's so responsive, and it is. But it's also kind of its Achilles heel. If you don't have any kind of filter or buffer or way to protect the mind, then you can quite easily get in trouble, because not everything that affects us is of a positive quality. So you could say, if I want to carry something positive into the world in my day-to-day life, I actually have to be quite careful to protect my mind from being influenced by other less helpful influences. So ultimately, you could say the way to protect your mind is to control what's in it. And I'm going to come back to that later on. But also sometimes we basically need to protect it in a very basic physical manner, for example, by not watching certain things on television, removing ourselves from company that's not good for us, things like that. Or you could say, if you can't exert positive influence in a specific situation, then at least protect yourself from being influenced the other way around. So I was just thinking, oh, there's a bit of a spelling mistake there. Here. It should have said atmosphere. What exactly is it that creates an atmosphere around us? What is this interconnectedness between us as human beings? So, a basic thing as my face, you know, we affect each other with our faces. What kind of face am I carrying with me in different situations where there are other people? Do I look very stern? Do I look worried? Do I look stressed? Or do I look light, happy, warm? And of course, it's not a very good idea to fake it. That's not what we're talking about. And this is why it really matters how I feel. But still, you know, we can be a little mindful about, how we use our faces. We can actually be be mindful about having a smiling face, not as a fake thing, but you know, remember to be warm and genuine and forthcoming with other people as much as possible. And then our voices, words, of course, matter a lot. What do we say to each other? But also just the tone of our voice. Are we sharp? Are we shrill? Or, are we, more peaceful in our voice? And actually, I was thinking specifically when we talk about words, to be a little careful with my sense of humor. I think many of us, in particular, maybe people who consider themselves to have a sense of humor as a dominant personality trait, have kind of been trained to make fun either of ourselves or others, and maybe in a subtle kind of grown-up way, It's not like we point fingers and say ha 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 at someone, but still that there's this type of sense of humor where we basically ridicule other individuals or groups of people, or being sarcastic, for an example. So we may feel, or we gain some points for making people laugh, but what's the price of it? And that includes putting myself down to make people laugh. It's really not a very good idea. So just to be aware, how am I using my sense of humor? I can use it to uplift people. I can use it to make a situation light. I can use it to make other people feel that they belong to a group, or I can do the opposite. So let me just be careful with my words, basically. Yeah, careful. And I think actually that's maybe something that has been a little lost with modern times. In olden days, so to speak, people in general were much more careful with their words. Basic manners. So I think we could, rewind a little there, go back to some uh, previous ideals about how to treat each other when it comes to speaking. And then it says breath, my breath. And with this, I mean basically my pace in life. So I think we must all have experienced either ourselves or someone else being stressed, like pacing around the room. It affects everyone else around. It feels so uncomfortable when someone is like that. So let me pace myself. Let me be careful of how I use my energy. And I'm just going to elaborate a bit on that later on. Then, of course, my actions definitely speak louder than words. And yeah, this is, of course, a very broad subject, my actions. Then my attitude also actually affects. And you can say, maybe that's again back to our face. People can see what we're thinking. You can tell from someone's face, for an example, if they're disapproving of what you're saying. You can see the little raise of the eyebrow or things like that. So again, I'm not really a fan of faking it, but there is something to say for managing yourself. So let's say that someone says something which I basically, to be honest, feel is a little ridiculous, or I feel is wrong what they're saying. But I can kind of keep an eye on myself and my outward reactions and try to basically try to turn my attitude around, remind myself of having respect for other people, reminding myself basically of, okay, there are other ways to see things than my way to see it. So let me show respect for this. Things like that, working on my attitude. And then, of course, the most subtle thing, my thoughts. And I know some people would say that we can very clearly influence other people with our thoughts, and sure, to some extent. But I think it's more a matter of vibrations. My thoughts spread vibrations in the world to some extent. So I'm a little careful that we shouldn't become like scared of even thinking because there's an influence from our thoughts. We have to be allowed some freedom also to work with ourselves and not feel bad because of having a bad thought, so to speak. But again, I can have a positive spin on it and focus on creating positive vibrations. And how do I do that? I do that by thinking and creating positive images inside. So we'll also get a little back to that towards the end. And then there's this phrase, don't give, but also don't take sorrow. So I think most of the spiritual paths we know of, most of the religions, including Christianity and Buddhism and Islam, they have very clear directions about not giving sorrow to other people, not hurting, not harming other people in different kinds of ways. In Raj Yoga, we actually add to that and say, well, please also don't take sorrow. Don't take sorrow from the world, from other people. Try not to take things negatively. Even if something does seem adverse or against you or problematic, try and work around it so that you take it in a different manner. So this, of course, is something that requires work, inner work over a long period of time, but certainly it can be done. Again, it's really not about suppressing anything. That's a bad road to take. But it's a matter of working on ourselves. Maybe Azi can invite someone else to give a talk about that. How do you actually do that? Avoid to take sorrow from other people's behavior or situations. But it's a good rule of thumb because, again, if I take it in, it's very likely that it'll come out again. So that's, yeah, let's just take the next page. Yeah, so this is just a very practical approach to how do I influence in my daily life. So I feel that many of us have this kind of getting the job done mode, so that we have many things to do in our lives. It could be at work, it could be at home. And so we can quite easily get into this gear of wanting to get the job done from a kind of subconscious assumption that when the job is done, I can be peaceful, I can rest, I can be content. It's not a conscious thought, I think. It's just how we kind of operate. And when this is taken to extremes, which it sometimes is, this result orientation, it has quite adverse side effects. So we may think that it makes us efficient, but in the end, actually, often it has the opposite effect because we are rushing. We are not taking into consideration our energy, our inner stage, other people's feelings in the situation. So, it may in the end mean I become quite impatient and then unkind towards other people. It may easily lead to exhaustion because I don't consider my own well-being, my energy. It may very well lead to mistakes in what I'm doing. All of these things that you see on the list, this boom bust effect, that I have a boom of energy, of work, of doing things. I just get it done, but then I'm busted afterwards, and that's not really healthy for us in the long run. Once in a while, yes, it can be needed to work like that, but not like all the time. Not good for us at all. So another way forward could be this. I really, really like. There's Sister Genti, that some of you may have met or watched lectures with, things like that. Sister Genti from the Brahmakumaris really puts an emphasis on this when you ask her, about being busy and things like that. always first you put your own stage. That's the first priority, my own stage. Next is relationships, and then is getting the job done. That's the right way to put it. So in other ways, to be process oriented, not how fast we can get things done, but how we are doing them, So it's a lot to do with mindfulness, and it can bring really a lot of beauty and enjoyment into our lives if we allow ourselves to shift to that. And I would say I remind myself of this daily, I think, in different situations. Okay, this is the way to go, because I can easily shift into the other gear, get the job done. So I remind myself quite often of this and then shift into this state instead. So when we talk about our inner stage or our state, there's a very down-to-earth physical component of taking care of food, sleep, drink, not doing things when I'm very tired. It's just a bad idea. If I can avoid that, that's good. I understand sometimes it's not possible to avoid. You may have small children and they have some demands on you and you have to fulfill them, things like that. But often we can actually choose, do I want to do this now or do I want to maybe wait a little? Respect that we're not machines. I sometimes talk with my closest colleague at work about this. We kind of still expect ourselves to be a little bit like machines. We fill our calendars with meetings and tasks as if we were machines that could just operate on and on and on, but we're not like that. We're human beings, and you have to know yourself. What time of day is good for this type of work? What time of day is good for another type of work? Things like that. Again, within the possibilities you have. I understand not everyone has the same degree of freedom, but within whatever boundaries we're in. So here what it says, everything at the right place, time, pace, insisting on not having peace afterwards, but peace in action, peace during doing whatever I need to do. And that really gives higher purpose and meaning also just to very basic tasks. A very good example could be, how do I cook? Is it something I'm come home from work, I'm tired, there's clutter all over in the kitchen. I just want to get it done. I start cooking, but with the awareness that, this just has to be done as fast as possible. It's very likely we then start knocking over the spices and things like that. Rather, let me do it properly. Let me surrender to the situation. Let me say, okay, now I'm doing this. Let me clear the table. Let me clear my mind. Let me be focused. Let me enjoy cutting the vegetables. As much as possible, being in the moment and surrendering to the task, to the situation. And actually, I would say when we do this, not just with cooking, but in general, when we allow this kind of more peaceful pace in things, it enhances our ability to listen to our intuition. So we make much better decisions. Listening to our intuition really requires us not to be too fast. And also, it's a kind of self-respect in action, insisting that I have the right to be peaceful. I have the right not to speed. I have the right to priority my stage, my well-being. I have the the right to prioritize relationship with others before the task, so to speak, the end goal. And actually, what my experience is, it makes me so much more efficient. Much more efficient. Much fewer mistakes are made when I act like this. So in practical terms, taking care of my stage may mean that I need to set some time aside, maybe early morning, maybe evening, maybe both. For example, for meditation, for clearing my mind, for accumulating inner power. So I'll get back to that later also. Well, actually, I'll get back to it now, it seems. Yes, already. The last slide. I'm talking about not speeding, but I feel I have now sped through a PowerPoint, but yeah, not a good example. So, oh my God, there's another spelling mistake. The higher level, it should say. So, yeah, so this this question of both of protecting myself against negative influences, even on a vibrational level, but also the question of what am I bringing into the world? So we can take it on a very practical level, just focus on how we speak, how we walk, how we talk. Sorry, how we think these things. But really, what is needed at the bottom line is filling ourselves with a very, very pure energy. So the more influenced I am of a very, very pure energy, that creates actually a buffer against anything else coming in from the outside. So specifically in Raj Yoga meditation, the practice is to consider ourselves to be spiritual beings and then draw power from a higher spiritual being. So that's a whole course in itself. I'm sure Arti can tell you where to do that course if you wish, and if you haven't done that already. But really, why that is also so needed at this time is because there is so many sources of potentially harmful influences around us. And it's difficult to completely shield ourselves on just a physical level from everything. So it's quite important that we are filled with something that can, act as a filter or a shield, basically. And this is definitely how I experience it to be that on days when my meditation works well for me and when I feel that I'm being filled with this power, um, I'm much less sensitive, much less sensitive. Not in the sense that I'm not responsive and can see how other people are doing and respond to it, but I'm not affected so much by it. And then also, what we can do in our meditation practice is visualizing others positively. So, this is actually a direct way of trying directly to influence either individuals or groups of people. And we can do that, but really, again, it should only be done with the purest of intentions. If my point of departure is that I'm upset with others and this is why I'm going to do it, is not a good point of departure. It's selfish and it should be unselfish, basically. And also on that note, we shouldn't have any expectations of the outcome. That would be like praying for people and then asking the day after if they felt it and are they better now, and kind of taking credit for it. So that's kind of it's not good karma, basically. But what we can do when the intention purely is to uplift others, to help others, we can do this that we visualize them in a positive light. We visualize them succeeding, being happy, being peaceful, being loved, whatever it may be that we think they need. And a good way also of avoiding attachment to the outcome is actually to expand it. So it may start with me feeling compassionate for one soul, one individual that I know maybe is going through something. I want to support him or her by doing this practice. But quite quickly into the practice, I expand it. I kind of tell myself, well, everyone who's going through something like this, let them experience peace, power, happiness, whatever is needed. So for this practice to be efficient, we need to be in a meditative state. In that state, our thoughts are focused and they're very, very powerful. And so you can almost feel in that state how you are radiating that energy, that power outwards. So yeah, this is something we can do. And actually, we can try that when we do the little meditation later on. I'm just gonna stop the screen share. Okay, so it's a bit early for the meditation, but I think we're going to dive into it anyway, and then maybe we have a little more time for the questions if needed.
Thank
Is
you.
that okay, Archie, that we...
Absolutely, thank you.
It went faster than expected, the PowerPoint. But yeah, so let's do
Very
this.
clear and very informative. Thank you.
Okay, good, good, good. So we can just imagine, let's imagine a group of people whom we feel may need extra support at this time, subtle support. So I bring them into my mind, in my heart in a way. I resonate with what they're going through. And I just emerge this pure wish to uplift them, to make sure that they feel safe, that they feel protected, that they feel loved, that they feel peace coming to them. So I imagine this group of people feeling that peace is coming to them. I imagine them with smiling faces. I imagine them feeling a surge of inner strength, that they feel they can deal with this situation that they are in. They feel strong, they feel together. They feel empowered. So it's not just words, I really try to visualize it, really feel it. I can even imagine that there's like a halo of white light or an aura of white light around these people, protecting them inside and out. I imagine them being happy, relieved, Actually, let me now just do the same for myself. So I imagine myself tomorrow going through my day, whatever that entails, peacefully, gently, content. I just see myself being smiley, peaceful, having loving interactions with other people. And I return my awareness to the now. Okay, so that was a lot in no time. So maybe we can explore some of it a bit further together.
Thank you. Thank you. As I said earlier, it was a very informative talk. You took angles that weren't necessarily the first things that would pop into people's heads, but so relevant in our lives. And I personally love this idea of just surrendering to a task when when you need to do something, rather than that internal fight, which exhausts most of our energy and also prevents us from the joy of being and doing. So thank you
Yeah.
for that reminder. There was actually quite a few things that you reminded me and underlined for me. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Artie.
So there's a number of questions that have come in.
Mm-hmm.
The first one is, when going through a difficult personal situation, how do you trust in yourself and that your decisions are going to be right? Or when to take advice from others? It's quite challenging when your mindset is low.
Yeah.
So what helped you through your situation?
Yeah. I think, and that's maybe a good thing that came out of it. I might have given a more idealistic and less realistic answer before. But I went through some things where, I mean, I tried as much as I could to kind of support myself and not become too dependent on other people sorting things out for me, so to speak, on an emotional level. But I definitely did go through some things where I was just, it was just, yeah, very good to have a friend to call and say, what on earth is going on here, especially going through chemotherapy. And it's hard even to kind of properly remember what it was like, but I just remember it was like one of the worst things I tried. For several reasons, it just felt very destructive. And so it also made it quite impossible for me to meditate, completely impossible, actually. I could not focus. I was meditating, so to speak, on the treatment and what was going on in my body. And also on an energy level, I was so pulled into the physical that it was just impossible to transcend it. And so the question you're asking is about trusting yourself or taking advice from others. But I would say, I mean, if you've come to a point where you need to take someone else's, not necessarily advice, but to have a ping pong with someone who knows you well, then why not? I mean, why not do that? We're here for each other. Personally, I find it important to be able to make the major decisions in my life on my own, because I'm the one who has to live with the consequences of it. So it's best that I take those decisions, but I may need to have a ping pong with a good friend before deciding. So I think that's just fine. I don't know if that answers the question.
Thank you for that openness. Next question. Let's have a look. It's in context of the words that we use, our humor, and how humor can be sarcastic, but it can also be to show that we love, we respect, we cherish a person.
Mm.
Person is saying, I think they've answered their own question, but I'm going to put it to you. They're saying they have a friend called Emel, and one of their favorite animals in Arabic, which is Jamel, which is a camel.
Aha.
When they call their friend Jamel, the camel, she gets very upset. Maybe,
Aha.
maybe it's because I haven't yet developed boundaries or established intimacy to the degree she would appreciate a pet name. I wonder how so our humor or this familiarity, this influences my friendship on a deeper level.
Yeah, that's a good thing to reflect on. I mean, in general, if people become upset when we call them a pet name, we probably shouldn't do it. But yeah, I think you have maybe replied to your own question. It sounds like you're reflecting on, maybe this is not the right. Maybe you can find I mean, I also don't know. Would I like to be called a camel? Could there be a better pet name for her? Something sweeter, maybe.
It's interesting, pet names. I know we have in our family, we have every child is given a pet name, and
Huh?
some point will turn around and say, I want to be called by my name. And I think
Uh-huh.
part of owning your own identity at some point.
Yeah.
And so maybe
Interesting.
that comes into play. I don't know. Anyway.
But now I want to know, what was your pet name, Marty?
Okay, that and my hair. I've got to send you a picture of my hair. Done. Um, next question. With the get the job done mode, if it is a deeply ingrained habit, would the same method still work? What would be helpful to change the mindset of getting this job done?
Yeah. It definitely still works. It works even better when because you'll see such a relief in it when you try to do something else. I don't think there's much do than actually to start to practice it. Um, so two things. One thing is you may need to discuss with yourself beforehand. Do you actually believe what I'm saying here? Do you believe that, yes, it would be a good idea and it would be possible for me to try, I mean, practically possible to do something else than what I'm already doing to try and change this? Do I deserve this actually? Can I, yeah. But then when you have decided on that level, principally, yes, I deserve this. I deserve to have a contented, happy, joyful life whilst doing things. Then one very practical thing is that you can actually just be careful not to move too fast. So that's one thing, not speeding in your actual movements, but also, we have this practice called traffic control in Raj Yoga meditation practices, where we stop every hour on the hour and meditate for just 1 minute. So that's, I mean, who can say that they don't have a minute in an hour? So to take a break, you may not meditate, but just to pause, simply to withdraw from action, force yourself away from it, and calm yourself. You may focus on your breathing, anything that kind of just grounds you for a minute or two. That's really, really helpful. Yeah.
Thank you.
I don't know, do you have any suggestions for this, Artie, to change a deeply ingrained habit of getting the job done mode?
Oh gosh, yes. I would say um, just learning to love.
Uh-huh.
Um, the more I love people, the more I love my environment, the more I even love the tasks I'm going to do. I'm going to stop being in the mode of doing, 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 doing. Because when there's love, you actually enjoy the process. So it's not so much doing is wrong for me,
Mhm.
more where I'm coming from when
Yeah,
I'm doing. Because just getting something done is so unsatisfactory sometimes.
yeah.
So,
Interesting. I never thought about it that way. That's very sweet. Yeah, I really like this.
oh, thank you. Thank you for asking. Um, your next question. So it's back to this task and getting things done. Somebody is saying that when they clean their home and organize things and declutter, they actually, while they're doing that, they also create a declutter space in their mind.
Yeah, very nice.
And that then helps them manage their life roles, like being a mother, a wife, a home,
Mm,
etc. Um, is it okay to prioritize that so that you can feel you can manage life?
definitely. I mean, that's a very good, yeah, as the person herself is describing. Um, we and I think that's definitely many people I think feel like that. Maybe not everyone, but quite a few. That when you clean your physical space, you're actually cleaning inside as well. So it's a very good practice. And actually, it's a good point that you. So thanks for bringing it up, because that's one way to take care of my own inner stage, actually, is to do that kind of thing, to prep my outer environment so that it's clean and clear and, yeah, declutter. It's a very good practice. And probably for many of us, it is a good time to also reflect on some things and get things kind of, yeah, cleared up inside. So that I think that's very good if you can do that. The only situation where I would say, oh, there's something that needs to change here, is if we become manic about cleaning and decluttering, which I have gone through myself some periods in my life where it became just manic, and then there's something off. If someone sits in the couch and they can barely get up from the couch before you shake the pillows, then there's something off, right? But yeah.
it also saves time, no? I've found that if things are put away and you know where they're kept, you don't spend 5 minutes looking for them. So that helps.
Exactly. No, order is very, very good.
Mm.
But I guess it's just about also to enjoy the task and not be fretting whilst doing it, right? To enjoy the cleaning and the clearing and
Yeah.
yeah, now I want to go clean something. Thanks for this.
Okay, next question. Is ripple effect it very much influenced by the three types of body: physical, gross, astral, subtle? Um, what are
Yeah.
your thoughts? Can you
Yeah,
explain more?
yeah, you could say so. I didn't think about it. I mean, I don't think I mean, the astral body, that's kind of a little beyond, isn't it? But definitely you could say there's the physical presence, but included in that is the vibrational presence, you could call it. And that influences, of course, in a more subtle way. So yeah, definitely, that's a good way of looking at it. I don't know about the astral, if I understand the term correctly, whether that's But probably so, yeah, on a
Interesting.
more subtle level. Yeah.
Interesting. Maybe another talk. You've given me two
Yeah.
titles this evening. Thank you. Um, there's, gosh, this question's just flowing in. Let's see if I can get one or two more in. Thank you for your talk, and the person saying they resonated with what you shared. Um, you shared quite a lot about being aware of other people's sensitivities and vulnerabilities and showing respect. Can you please elaborate a bit more on respect in these type of scenarios, and how can one foster it more deeply so it becomes natural?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I think it's quite a deep habit for almost all of us not actually to fully respect everyone. And we tend to find it easier to respect people who are very much similar to ourselves. Um, but yeah, I think one main step is to decide for myself as a principle to show others respect. I mean, I, of course, also sometimes don't. I sometimes um, not fe don't feel that respect, and then I don't show it properly. But then when I become aware of it, I remind myself. And so it's a question of, for me, it's a question of simply reminding myself that this is a principle for me. It's a core value to show others respect. And if you don't feel it's a core value, then I don't think you're going to do it. But even if you do feel there's a core value, you of course may forget, but then it's simply a question of reminding myself, catching myself when I don't, and also reflecting on it once in a while, looking at my own behavior. Am I actually showing other people respect? And then, of course, there are certain people, I think everyone knows one or two people that really pushes your buttons, and where you're just like, it's not even a question of not showing them respect, but you actually just don't like them, to be honest. They push all your red buttons. And again, this question of teaching myself not to react to those, to their button pushing, but also not to take sorrow from it, because that's obviously why I'm reacting. It's because I'm being hurt, right? But again, that's probably, I mean, that's a whole other talk. And I'd like to hear that talk if someone could please give it. So now
Thank
you
you.
have a long list, I
Yeah,
see, of things you invite others to talk about.
you're making my life a little easier, so thank you very much. Next question. When everybody is working, where there's a project and everybody's working full on, sometimes it feels hard not to get caught up in the flurry of it.
Mm.
Do you have any more tips for not getting caught up?
I don't think I have any other tips than what I already said, but especially the thing of pausing and again, also deciding for myself that I am worth, I have respect enough for myself that I don't have to get sucked into it just because everyone else does. But I would also like to say it is not a question of not being able to sometimes give it a good go with a project, and work through and things like that. It's more a matter of, am I content? Am I uh, not overtired? Things like this. Am I protecting my own well-being whilst doing it? Then it's fine. Um,
It's an interesting one, isn't it? Because that is being influenced, but influenced by, is it being influenced? Sometimes it can be my own mindset. No,
yeah.
this is this equates to this.
Yeah.
Please. I thought that's how I found out for myself that
Hmm.
sometimes it's my personal mindset. It's actually everybody else is doing what they're doing. I'm being influenced by my own mindset. And if
Mm,
I had a little more self-respect, like you said, if I had
mm,
a sense of self-worth, and I also had worth for what I'm doing,
mm,
I wouldn't, I don't know that I would I know when I value what I'm doing and I value myself, I don't get caught in the flurry of things.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
I think also there's very much a culture of busyness. And I was talking with a friend the other day. I'm working part-time in Denmark. Normally full-time is 37 hours. I'm working 30. But then the volunteer work on the side of that. And I had another friend who had cut down her hours, and I heard her kind of excusing it, like she had to excuse it or apologize. And I'm like, what on earth are you apologizing for? I think it's just great that why would you work more if you can do less? So yeah, so there's sometimes you have to kind of stand against a cultural pressure of you have to be busy to matter or something like that.
yeah,
I
and
don't I don't buy into that.
it's a belief system.
I'm
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm
yeah.
fully allowed to have a couple of hours each day where I just do absolutely nothing. I mean, why not?
Interesting headspace, but I agree with you. I do agree with you. It is about having a balanced priority. And if you honestly,
Mm,
I like this thing that you talked about earlier. If you honestly take that 1 minute, the next 50
mm,
are impacted. And that
mm,
that we think is productive, but it's just us overusing our head.
mm.
That that's that imbalance. We just keep letting our thoughts roll,
Yeah,
we with them.
good point.
You know, I was talking to Sister Genti, and I'm just going to mention her because you were mentioning her earlier. Sister Genti is now the additional administrative head of the organization, and her role has expanded so much, and her workload, it's incredible.
Mm,
But when you're with her, you don't feel like she's kind of got her eye on the time.
mm,
She's,
exactly.
she's really there with you.
Yeah.
I popped in to see her just the other night, just a night, a couple of, maybe, yeah, yesterday. Oh my God, 24 hours, not even. So yesterday, and I said, how's it going? And she said, I'm moving along with everybody's blessings.
Mm,
And it's a term that we have in England, to feel blessed.
mm,
But how often do we feel blessed?
mm.
And
Yes.
so she kind of, I mean, there was that, and then we were talking about some other events that
Mm,
had been happening recently, and she was filling me in from her side, what she really appreciated about them.
mm,
And and also kind of directing me like these are things that you need to keep in mind for future events, which is what
mm,
I'm going to bring up for next Friday. I want to make a little announcement. But
mhm.
it's this whole thing of um, it's not, you don't feel her paddling. She's not a swan on the surface and a duck underneath paddling madly. Um,
Never knew that image. That's a very good image. Yeah. No, that's interesting. No, you're right. I mean, I've been in meetings with her where I felt other people were wasting her time, and she had said, I have to leave, but she amazingly patient, just sitting there. I was like, excuse me, people, let her go, you know.
So
And I really don't know how she does that. I mean, it's amazing. Yeah.
this
But
feeling.
that's really putting stage and relationship before
Mm,
anything else.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's really quite incredible. So yeah, I'm going to throw that in the mix. Just just for a while, practice feeling your life blessed, feeling blessed, and you'll probably find
Yeah.
time, more energy, and more space in your life and your heart. So yeah. Which brings us to the end of the event, and I want to make this announcement quickly. One of the things we would like to start implementing from next week is to have, after your talk, sorry, before the talk starts, after the intro, to take 30 seconds to come together in silence and just be present with each other. It's something that we want to start cultivating in our lives at inner space more so than we do already. And we do quite a bit, but we'd now like to extend it to all of our friends who join us on a Friday night. So you're going to find that happen more. And maybe we're going to ask our speakers to give us 30 seconds after their meditation to take 30 seconds then and again just to be with each other and acknowledge that we are together and we're on this path together, and to send those good wishes, not just to ourselves, that what we're learning isn't just going to be something that's good for me, but whatever you're learning and whatever you're taking inspiration from, I wish you well on that part of your path of your journey. So these are things that we are going to start incorporating next week. I wanted to give you a week's notice so you don't get shocked and wonder if my screen is frozen or anything like that. But those are things that we would really love to do. We're going to be implementing that right across. It's something that started as a discussion, and it will be over the next month something we hope to be able to implement right across the board at Inner Space and our events. And I'd love your feedback. I'd really love your feedback. I was telling the students this morning, we have a morning class and we all study together. And I was telling the students this morning, because we've started doing an extra 10 minutes together very consciously. And I'm already listing the benefits that I'm getting through the day because of that. So if you have any benefits, if you feel like it's helping, do let us know. Or if it's not working for you, let us know. We'd really love to hear from you.